Welcome to FX Options University, recorded live at the International Securities Exchange, the world's largest equity options exchange. Join the industry's top trading professionals as they provide insight and strategies for trading in the currency markets using FX options. FX options are a low-risk alternative to hedging currency moves in any market condition.
Welcome, everyone. This is Steve Meisinger, your host for today's ISE webinar. Each and every week, we bring in special guests, talk about the markets, how they relate to currencies, currency options. Today, I'm really happy that we have John Person with us. John is the founder of nationalfutures.com. John spent many years on the floor of the exchange, battling it out as I did, and he found that one of the things that gave him the edge was the seasonality patterns. Obviously, seasonality is something that occurs over and over again. So I think you'll really enjoy the presentation today, where John's going to give specific examples. He'll show us some charts, and it's going to be a great presentation. So without further ado, I want to introduce John Person from nationalfutures.com. John, how are you?
Excellent, Steve. Thanks for that kind introduction. It's great to be back with the ISE at the beginning of the year. And, prior to talking, Steve and I, you said, I bring some fairly good educational information and relevant trading information to your audience. And I said, well, today's presentation might be boring because it could just be a repeat, because the markets often repeat themselves in certain patterns and also in seasonal tendencies. And that's what I wanted to go over today. The funny thing is that a lot of people aren't really aware of seasonal tendencies in the market, or if they are, they keep forgetting about them. And that's what's great about, history repeating itself. It's just that there's certain things that can, as I always like to teach properly with seasonal analysis, certain events or market conditions can help magnify or mute specific seasonal price moves. So today's presentation, we're going to talk about and focus strictly on the euro currency because it's a move that's happened again. Just in case you do not trade foreign currencies, it's a great vehicle, especially using the euro currency index with the ISE. And we'll talk about the nuances, the difference between the indexes versus the cash spot Forex versus what you're looking at, and my data and research. It's all easy to put together. It's just a matter of studying the charts, and that's what I want to walk through today's presentation. So we've got a PowerPoint presentation, different rules, as well as we have a live platform, and I'm going to show you from my trading account with Thinkorswim with my indicator, so that we can see exactly how to transpose foreign currencies that you may hear in the news, or spot Forex you may see if you're trading foreign currencies, and how you can utilize options with the ISE's Euro Index. So hopefully that's what we have on the agenda for today. Before we begin, I'd like to see we got a fairly decent audience, and I want to say thank you all for your time. It's been kind of a fairly long year in 2009. Hopefully you all had a good year. And so far at the beginning of 2000 and, believe it or not, 2010, there's been a little bit of predictability in the market. Between the equity sell-off and, now we come back to that debate of whether your economy's going to recover, or whether the Federal Reserve's going to need to adjust interest rates, or more importantly, what's going to happen here in the United States versus abroad, specifically Europe, and who's in better shape? Is it here or abroad? If the United States is perceived to be in better shape than abroad, then obviously that may weigh in on the perceived conception that the Federal Reserve is closer to tightening and raising interest rates than our counterpart in Europe. What does that have to do with foreign currencies? Everything, because interest rate differentials actually start to show money flow influxes, and you'll start to see where you'll see more people wanting to be in dollar-backed assets and dollar denomination versus euro currency. So that's where we're starting to see support in the dollar and weakness in the euro currency. And so you want to kind of pay attention to the macro field or the macro environment. Now, it's kind of interesting because I've been here with the ISE probably, this is my I don't know, at least a half a dozen times, and over the course of that, at least maybe we're entering our second year. But I do know that I did a presentation. I always go back to this because it was interesting because Steve Menziger from the ISE was in the audience. It was at a November expo in Las Vegas, and I talked about the seasonality of the euro currency, and this would have been back in 2008. Fast forward to 2009, and the same event took place. Now we're in 2010. Guess what? The same event has taken place. So we want to talk about that because it really is crucial in our trading to pay attention to these seasonalities to help give ourselves an edge in the market. And I think from my experience of 30-some-odd years in this business, it's now I'm going on 30 officially since a runner's job in the summer of 1977 at the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, actively trading since 1980. And I don't know if a lot of you have any idea of my background, but I started working with a guy by the name of George Lane. George is credited with innovating the indicator called stochastics. And then I worked from George for approximately 2 years, and then I went on to trading on my own. I traded bond options, and was extremely successful. And a lot of the techniques that I used back in the early 80s, 90s, I still use to this day, and I mean today even. And I think that it's important that once we saw the advent of foreign currencies really become popularized, more importantly, to see our global economy expand. And I just really think that there's more opportunities and there's different ways to tackle a market. Back in the early days, we used to trade the German Deutschmark, and the euro currency wasn't even around. So, we really have a whole slew of new products to trade, but the one thing that remains constant is that the world is dictated by humans and humans' emotions. And fear and greed always run rampant in the market, but there are also, besides that, specific supply and demand functions at certain times of the year, and you always seem to get that supply-demand imbalance or rebalance in the marketplace. And that's what we see, and we have to understand which side and what time of the year to be on which market. And so by understanding supply and demand and by understanding seasonality, I think it'll give most traders, a better edge, or at least another edge in the market above the next guy who isn't following this type of information. Just wanted to briefly mention, for the sake of simplicity, this information is educational in purpose, and just to rip right through this disclosure, just in case you're not familiar, trading is risky. In case no one's ever mentioned that to you before you start, just understand trading's risky, and options involve risk, and they're not suited for everyone. This information, it's my information. I appreciate it not having it recopied and retaught somewhere else. And so thank you for your time with those brief descriptions of our disclosures, which by law we generally like to give or are supposed to give. Let me tell you first a quick about ISE options and what products they have. But before I begin, I'd like to poll the audience. Has anyone ever heard of me before? Are there any of our any clients out there, any students that I've worked with in the past? Anyone out here today?
Just type a Y, guys. Great.
Just a Y. There we go. Excellent. So we have a couple of people that are familiar with me. That's nice to hear. Thank you. All right. So now, basically what I'd like to talk about is, here are the different symbols and the different products. As you can see, the ISE covers every single product pretty much of foreign currencies of any sizable volume. The Aussie dollar, Brazilian real, which will start gaining in more popularity as the Olympics get closer, as we start to develop, the Latin American markets, the pound, the British pound, the loonie, Canadian dollar, the euro currency, which we're going to talk in detail about today, the yen, which is an excellent vehicle to trade, and the peso, New Zealand dollar, Swedish krona, and Swiss franc. So they actually cover all the basics in their product line. So I think it's something that it's just a matter of getting a little bit of education in and how to utilize this product in your trade decision.
Get trading ideas, exchange rates, webinars, news, and commentary. Visit www.fxoptions.com. ISE FX options can be easily traded through all options-enabled brokerage accounts. These exchange-listed securities are cash-settled in U.S. dollars and have a European-style exercise.